Hey guys, Triple Netherite Dev here. Welcome back to another video. Today's video, I will be showing you guys how to add the blocking system to your blade ball game. When the ball is blocked, it will go to whatever player your character is looking at, or if you're not looking at any player, it will go to the closest player to your character. The only problem is the timing can be a bit finicky at times. You have to click it like a little while before the ball gets to you in order for it to block. Also, please ignore my avatar right now. I forgot to change it, and I'm too lazy to change it right now, so you're just gonna have to deal with it for the rest of the video. Anyways, I hope you enjoy. See you. Right, so I'm in my blade ball world here, and we're going to start by going into replicated storage, and we're going to add in a remote event into our remote event folder, and we can go ahead and name this one to be block events. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to insert a part, and we are going to make a hitbox. So what this hitbox is going to do is it is going to float around the player, and whenever the ball gets in contact with the hitball, the blocking will start. It'll block the ball, and then later we can add an animation next video. And this video is just about blocking. So we're going to set the size of the part to be 10, 10, 10, and you can see we have this nice little cube right here. We're going to set the transparency to be 1, and we're going to make it can collide off, and then we're going to go ahead and name it to hitbox. You can then go ahead and move this hitbox into starter character scripts, and in the hitbox we're going to add in a bool value. You can go ahead and rename it to is blocking and make sure the value is set to false. And then in starter character scripts you can add in a script. You can go ahead and rename this to Hitbox Controller and put the hitbox inside of the script. So every time a player spawns in, starter character scripts will put this script right here into that player that just spawned in. So this code will run every single time a player spawns into the game. So we can start by defining a few variables, starting with our event that we created. So local replicated storage is equal to game : get service replicated storage. And then we can get the event. So local event is equal to replicated storage, wait for child remote events, wait for child block events. So now we're going to get the player and the character. So we can do local character is equal to script dot parent, because every time a player spawns in, this script will be put into the character model and the parent will be the player or the character. And we can get the player. So local player is equal to game dot players : get player from character. And we can get the humanoid root part as well. So local humanoid root part is equal to character : wait for child humanoid root part. Now we can get the hitbox. Local hitbox is equal to script.hitbox : clone, and the is blocking value. So local is blocking is equal to hitbox : wait for child is blocking. And for the hitbox line, we can add in a wait for child as well. Instead of just being dot, we're going to do wait for child hitbox. So now we're going to set the hitbox as parent to the player. So hitbox.parent is equal to the player, or no, character, sorry. So we're putting the hitbox inside of the character, and now we're going to attach it to the humanoid root part. So it's basically always in the center of the player. So we're going to do this by making a weld. So local weld is equal to instance.new, and we're going to create a weld, and then we can do comma humanoid root part to set the parent of it to the humanoid root part. And to attach it, we're going to do weld.part0 is equal to humanoid root part, and weld.part1 is going to be equal to the hitbox. Now here we can do event.onServer events : connect function, and we can get the player parameter. So whenever the player is blocking the ball, we're going to set the is blocking value to true. So when the ball hits the player, it's going to check if the player is blocking or not by checking if this value is true. So what we need to do here is make the value true when the player blocks the ball. So if player, spelled PLR, equal to player, spelled correctly, then we can do is blocking.value equals true. And then we can wait like half a second before setting it to be false again. So is blocking.value equals to false. Now we're going to make it so the player can actually block the ball. So in starter GUI, you're going to add in an image button, and you can just go ahead and name it to block button or whatever you want to name it. And then you're just going to go ahead and customize it real quick. So I've gone ahead and made my button here. I will have a model linked in the description if you're too lazy to make your own. One thing you need to make sure you have in your button is you're going to need to have a cooldown frame. So this is going to be a frame that it's white and it goes down as the block cooldown wears off. To do this, we're going to add in a frame into the button, and we're going to set the size to be 1, 0, 1, 0. And you can just go ahead and set the background transparency to 0.5, and then you can set visibility to false, and make sure you rename it to cooldown. I also added in a UI corner so the corners are rounded like the button. Now we're going to add in a local script. So inside the block button, we can go ahead and add in a local script, and we're going to go ahead and rename this to player blocked. So we can start off by getting input service, and this is going to detect when the player clicks the block button. So local input service equals to game:get service user input service. So now we're going to set the key that blocks the ball. So local block key is equal to enum.keycode, and then you can go ahead and set the key to whatever you want to be. So I'm going to do enum.keycode.f, just like in Blade Ball. So now we're going to establish a bool value called cooldown. So local cooldown is equal to false. And we're going to make another variable called cancel, which will also equal to false. Now this will cancel the cooldown if the player blocks the ball. So now we're going to get the block button. So local block button is equal to script.parent. And you can do local cooldown frame is equal to block button or :wait for child cooldown. We can get the player, so local player is equal to game.player, so not local player. And then we're going to get the block event, so local replicated storage is equal to game:get service replicated storage. And local event is equal to replicated storage :wait for child events or remote events :wait for child block events. So now we're going to block the ball whenever the player clicks the mouse button or they click F. So we can start off by creating the block function. So local function block, just like this. And we're not going to do anything for it right now. So we're just going to go ahead and print out player.name, has blocked the ball. So we're going to call this function whenever the player clicks with their mouse or they click the block key. We're going to start off by seeing if the player clicked the button. So script.parent.mousebutton1click :connect function. We're going to check if the cooldown is not active. So if not cooldown, then we're going to set the cooldown to be true. And then we're just going to call the block function. So now we're also going to call it if input service detects that you click the F key or just your mouse anywhere on the screen. So you can do input service dot input began :connect function. And we're going to get two parameters here. So input, is processed. So we're getting whatever key was pressed with input. And is processed basically makes sure that the key wasn't pressed like typing into chat or something. Because you don't want the player blocking the ball when they're just typing into chat. Like if they type F key in chat, it'll block the ball. You don't want that happening. So we're going to check if input is equal to block key or input user input type is equal to enum.user input type mouse button 1. So if they click the F key or whatever your block key is, or they click the mouse and not cooldown, so if the cooldown is not active and not is processed, then we're going to do cooldown is equal to true, and we're going to call the block function as well. So now we can go ahead and code the block function. We're going to start off by making sure the cooldown frame is fully sized. So we can do cooldown frame.size is equal to udim2.new 1, 0, 1, 0. And we can do local current cooldown is equal to cooldown time. Which reminds me, I forgot to set a variable for cooldown time. So right here we can do local cooldown time is equal to, and then you're just going to set this to however long you want the cooldown to be. So I want my cooldown to be 1.5 seconds. Alright, then we're going to make the cooldown frame visible. So cooldown frame dot visible is equal to true. And then we can do event : fire server letting the hitbox know that we are blocking the ball so they can make the is blocking value in the hitbox true. And from here, we just need to edit the cooldown frame to make it go down with time. So we can do while wait 0.1, do every 0.1 seconds. We're going to do current cooldown minus equals 0.1, and then we're going to tween the cooldown frame to make it shrink. So cooldown frame colon tween size, and then we're going to do udim2.new, and we can do 1, 0, current cooldown divided by cooldown time, 0, and outside of this first set of parentheses, we can add a comma. Then we're going to do enum.usingDirection.in, enum.usingStyle.linear, and then we're going to set the tween time to 0.1 seconds. We're going to check if current cooldown is less than or equal to 0, then we're going to stop and reset the cooldown. So we can do cooldown frame dot visible is equal to false, cooldown frame dot size is equal to udim2 dot new 1, 0, 1, 0, and then we can just add in a break to break this loop here. So if we go ahead and play it, whenever I click the button, you can see that the frame retracts and then it breaks. And it was also retracting the wrong way for some reason. So, oh, okay, I see what I did wrong now. So after this while wait loop here, you're going to do cooldown is equal to false, which will allow you to block again. And then to make it tween like this instead of like this, what we're going to do is we're going to set the anchor point to 0, 1, and you're going to see it goes up a little bit. So then we're going to set the position to be 0, 0, 1, 0, and that'll make it go in place like that. So now if we were to click, you can see the block button goes down, and then once it goes all the way down, we are able to click again. It also works if we click F. Never mind. Alright, so it turns out I made a mistake where it says if input equals to block key or user input type, so on. It needs to be input.keycode, not just input. So change that, and it will block when you click F. And we're not going to worry about this cancel part right now because it wouldn't make sense to do it right now, so we'll just go ahead and do it later. So now we can actually work on the ball actually blocking, because right now, even if I block the ball, I still die. So we're going to change that. Also, please ignore my avatar. So we can go ahead and open up server script service and open up our ball handler script. And at the top of the script, we're going to create a new variable. So local blocked is equal to false. Alright, so starting off, we're going to go to our find nearest player function, and we can just go ahead and delete everything in here. We're going to completely revamp this function. So instead of just finding the closest player to the target, what we're going to do is we're going to actually look through the player's point of view, and we're going to see who is in their point of view and who is the closest player in their eyesight, and that will become the new target. So we're going to first of all call a parameter. We're going to name it to player. Then we can create a variable for the character. So local character is equal to player.character. And then we're going to create some more variables. So local best match, which we are not going to define. Then local greatest dot is equal to 0. And then local shortest distance is equal to 0 as well. So we're going to use something that I learned about recently called dot products, which will basically put dots in front of the player and see what's in front of them, and it'll get the player closest to their point of view. And if there are no players in their point of view, then we'll just find the nearest player around them. So we're going to loop through all the players in the game. So for I, v in pairs game.players get children do, we're calling get players actually. We're going to check if v, so if the player is not equal to the target player, and b find first child in game, then so we need to make sure they're in the game as well. We're going to get the direction of the character to the enemy. So local character to enemy is equal to parentheses v.character.head.position minus character.head.position And then outside the parentheses, we're going to do .units. And we're going to get the player's look direction. So local player look is equal to character dot head dot cframe dot look vector. And then we're going to use a function called dot product. I don't really understand it too much. I will have a link in the description to a really useful video that I used to make this tutorial. So if you want to watch that video, link will be in the description below. So we're going to do local dot product is equal to character to enemy colon dot, and then in the parentheses we're going to put player look. We're going to check if the dot product is greater than 0.5, then the dot product will return a number in the range of -1 to +1. So if it's greater than 5, that should mean they're in the point of view. So we're going to add another if statement. So if dot product is greater than greatest dot, then, so we're getting the closest player to their direct view. We're going to set greatest dot to this dot product, and the best match is going to equal to v, or the player. So outside of this for loop, we're going to check if a best match was found. So if not best match, then we're going to loop through all the players again and find the closest one. So for underscore comma player in pairs game.players colon get children do. We're going to check if player colon find first child in game and the player is not equal to the target player. So if player not equal to player, then we're going to get the distance between the player and the target player. The local distance is equal to parentheses player dot character dot humanoid root part dot position minus player dot character dot humanoid root part dot position, and then outside of the parentheses dot magnitude. And make sure you're using the different players here correctly. So you can see we have player spelled P-L-A-Y-E-R and player spelled P-L-R. Make sure you're using those correctly. So we're going to check if distance is less than the shortest distance. Then I'm going to set the shortest distance to be the distance, and the best match will be the player. And then at the end of this, we are just going to return the best match. So this is getting either the player closest to the target's direct line of sight or the player closest to the target, and then we're going to return it when this function is called. Alright, so let's go ahead and call the function. We're going to go down to the spawn ball function, and right before the local humanoid root part, we're going to set another variable. So local is blocking, and this is the value we made at the very beginning in the hitbox. So is blocking is going to equal to hit dot parent dot hitbox dot is blocking, and then the if statement right below that, we're going to change it from being if humanoid root part to being if humanoid root part and not is blocking. Then, because we don't want this running if the player is blocking, we don't want to blow them up. Alright, so we can scroll to the end of this if statement. And then we're going to add in an else if. So else if humanoid root part and is blocking dot value and not blocked. And then, oh, and I made a mistake up here on if humanoid root part and not is blocking. It should be and not is blocking dot value. Make sure to change that. Alright, so back down here, we're going to get the direction the player is looking in. So local forward vector is equal to humanoid root part dot cframe dot look vector, and then we're going to send the ball accelerating in the direction the player is looking in while we take the time to calculate who the closest player is, so the ball is just not like floating in midair. So we can do clone ball dot velocity is equal to forward vector times c speed, and then we can set the blocked value to be true. So then we're going to call the nearest player function. So local nearest player is equal to find nearest player, and we can send over the target player. So we're going to check if it returns value. So if nearest player, then we're going to set the target player to be the nearest player. So then what we're going to do after that is we're going to make the ball go faster. So we can do c speed plus equals c speed times 0.2, or no, sorry, times 1.2, because in blade ball, every time the ball is blocked, it speeds up a little bit. Then we can set the isBlocking value. So isBlocking.value is going to equal false again, and we're going to fire the blocking event to unblock it for the client. Then we can do blocked is equal to false as well. So we should be good for now. So as you can see, yep, it just worked. As you can see, I just blocked the ball and it sped up and went to the nearest player. I think it's speeding up a little bit too much, so I might change that. Alright, so why it's speeding up so much is because I multiplied it by 1.2. So it should be c speed plus equals c speed times 0.2. Because what I was doing is essentially multiplying the speed by 2, which was not supposed to be the case. So you can see that the blocking system works. I click and the ball goes to the next person. But there was one problem. If you look really closely, you can see that when I click this blocking value, the blocking countdown continues to go down even after I hit the ball, which basically means if the next player blocks it back to me, I cannot block the ball again until the countdown is finished, which would essentially mean I'm dead. So in order to fix this, we are going to refire the blocked event. So we can create a variable for it. First of all, we can do local blocked event is equal to replicated storage dot remote events dot blocked event. Actually, we can rename the variable to unblock event because that's what the event's going to do in this case. We can go back down to here and we're just going to do unblock event fire client game dot players get player from character, and we're just going to do hit dot parent, which was the target player that the ball hit originally. Oh, and I forgot that down here we need to have a return. That's pretty important. So at the very end of this if statement, make sure to include a return, which will basically stop the function from running. Alright, so then we're going to go back to our block button player block script, and whenever the block event is fired from the server, we're going to pick that up and we're going to cancel this from running. So we can do event.onClient event connect function, and we're just going to do cancel is equal to true. So then in the block function, and we're going to do if cancel is equal to true, then we're going to set the cooldown frame to be invisible. So cooldown frame dot visible equals false. We're going to reset the size. So cooldown frame dot size is equal to udim2 dot new 1, 0, 1, 0. And then we're going to set cancel to be false again, and we can add in a break. So this will cancel the cooldown after we successfully block the ball. As soon as I block the ball, you can see that the cooldown ends, and I'm able to block it again right after. So yeah, anyways guys, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed and it helped you, leave a like and subscribe. I know it's been like 3 months since the last video, but I don't really know what to say. Anyways, see you.